Hello. This is a training that focuses on understanding and upholding the Title VI and Title IX within higher education. As student affairs professionals, we play an essential role in ensuring that students feel safe, supported, and treated equitably. This presentation will cover legal requirements and institutional responsibilities and practical strategies for fostering compliance and a healthy campus environment. First, we'll go over like an agenda of what we're going to talk about today. Um, Firstly, we will look at the history of Title IX. Then we'll go over the history of Title VI. We'll talk about like their laws and policies, like kind of what the laws state, and then kind of how they came about. Then we'll talk about the implications of these laws on campus life. Then we'll look at key policies that ensure compliance, how to properly report and respond, common policies in higher education, and then educational methods. And then lastly, we will talk about how to promote awareness and accountability in practice. So first, we're going to go over a brief history of Title IX. Title IX focuses on sex-based discrimination and harassment. It is a law that prohibits any discrimination on the basis of sex. So it was passed in Congress in 1972 and has had a huge impact on higher education since. It's been a big positive impact and has allowed campuses to foster safer communities and just support their students, giving access to resources, helping them through like tough situations, that kind of thing. In fact, since 1972, we've seen a significant increase on the number of women with bachelor's degrees because of Title IX law. So that is super cool. So that's just a little bit about what Title IX is. Now we're going to go over what Title VI is. So Title VI prohibits discrimination based on race, color, or national origin. So it ensures that no student is excluded or treated unfairly based on race or ethnicity. This law was a part of the Civil Rights Act and applies to every college and university that receives federal funding, similar to Title IX. Violations can result in serious consequences, including loss of funding and legal action, but more importantly, harm students. It has significantly increased access to housing, services, and education for people of all races, colors, and ethnicities. So it's also really impactful on the higher education community. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the applications that these laws have on campus life. They impact nearly every aspect of campus life. For example, unequal treatment in housing, assignments, or failure to address harassment in residence halls can be violations of Title VI and or Title IX. So Title IX also has many implications on athletic programs. Since it was passed in the 70s, we've also seen a significant increase of women in high school athletics, which is cool. And then student affairs professionals are often the first point of contact, which means that we must be prepared to respond appropriately and uphold institutional policies. That's a little bit about how it affects us in our campus life. Some key institutional policies that we see with Title IX our non-discrimination policy, Title IX sexual misconduct policy, clear reporting procedures, investigation processes, and anti-retaliation policies. Policies are the foundation of compliance. However, simply having them is not enough. They must be visible, understandable, and consistently applied. Students need to know their rights and how to access support, and then staff must also be trained to follow procedures correctly. Another part of maintaining compliance is having clear, communicative, and accessible policies. Sorry. These are some examples of policies that are key to institutional compliance and success. They're pretty common policies that we see a lot in student affairs practices. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about the specifics of reporting procedures and policies. Most student affairs professionals are mandatory reporters, meaning that they must report incidents to the appropriate office. It's also important to understand which resources are confidential. Institutions are required to respond promptly and fairly, ensuring both support for impacted students and due process. It is super important to make sure that staff is trained to know what mandatory reporting entails and also analyzing the processes and procedures that are in place to ensure that they are in compliance. Most schools have some sort of Title IX, they have to have some sort of Title IX reporting and response procedure. it's just really important that those processes are made really clear to employees that we can remain in compliance. Some common compliance challenges are underreporting of incidents, lack of awareness, fear of retaliation, cultural slash social barriers, and inconsistent enforcement. Many students are afraid to report incidents due to a fear of retaliation. There's also a stigma around reporting that can often influence students from seeking support. Um, and on the staff side of things, staff might feel uncertain about how to respond. That can be a challenge of compliance. And additionally, cultural differences can influence how students perceive discrimination or harassment. These challenges make ongoing education essential. So it's essential that we're having consistent training, consistent understanding of the rules and what needs to happen to be in compliance. Additionally, consistency is key in enforcing policies and following through on investigations. So that's another huge part of being in compliance. Here's some strategies that we have for compliance. So, effective compliance requires a proactive approach. Training should happen not just once, but regularly. And then institutions should also create systems that are easy to navigate and encourage reporting. Collaboration between departments also ensures a more coordinated and effective response. Um, yeah, collaboration is really important. Consistency is really important as well. Um, so now we're going to talk about two educational methods that could help just maybe be a little bit more proactive in compliance, but also support for students. So the first educational method is geared towards staff and faculty, and it's workshops. So workshops for staff can ensure that they increase their comfort level and experience with handling difficult Title IX cases. Working with other partners like PD can allow professionals to understand how different departments or institutions handle Title IX situations. Partnering with counselors can enlighten staff on how to handle what can be pretty emotional for students to share. These partnerships, in conjunction with hands-on experience and real-life scenario training, can help professionals grow in confidence and competence. So, we did this. I work in Res Life, and if you guys experience that, we were in some like more hands-on scenario training, and it's really helpful to kind of act out those situations where a student's telling you something difficult and how you would respond. When we have clarity in our processes and we're able to practice those and then also hear what goes on behind the scenes, we're able to just feel more comfortable on what the exact proper protocol is and how to handle difficult situations. So our second educational opportunity is geared towards students. It is a social media campaign. When we communicate with students in a way that they understand, then they're more likely to retain the information. So social media is huge amongst our student populations these days. So some short videos and reels, infographics, and things like that can really help us get our information across to our students. We want to be communicating in a way that is effective, but also relatable. And so when we are communicating like how to properly report and like that can help a little bit with the stigma behind reporting. It can make people feel like they're not alone and like that they have a place where they can come and report it. So a social media campaign could be really helpful because it allows us to engage with students in a way that they would like to engage with us. So that is the second educational opportunity that I think would be really helpful for us to practice. Um, and then we're going to talk a little bit about how to promote awareness and accountability. Ultimately, this training promotes both awareness and accountability. It encourages students to seek help and trust the system while also holding institutions responsible for maintaining safe environments. This aligns with the broader mission of student affairs, which is to support student success and well-being. When we practice proper training and understanding of Title IX, we're able to support our students best, even if they don't necessarily want to report. We have um, this duty to our students to be mandatory reporters, not just because it's our job, but because we want to be able to get them the best resources that they need. And so that's something that's really important is reporting properly. Um, and also understanding what our role is in reporting. Here are two helpful resource guides that are extremely helpful in educating students on Title IX and Title VI policies. The first flyer educates students on how to report. The second educates students on their rights and what Title IX and Title VI is. So hanging these in a residence hall lobby or posting them on social media, or even handing them out at the beginning of the year would be highly effective in educating students on how they report Title IX and Title VI. And then lastly, these are just some resources that I used in this presentation. Overall, we want to make sure that um, first and foremost, we are following our Title IX and Title VI federal mandates, but then also that we are supporting our students well. And at the end of the day, by following what we have as our Title IX and Title VI mandates, we are able to support our students better and get them better help than we could provide just like as student affairs staff. So I would encourage you all to think about these things a little bit more deeply and think about creative ways that we can make sure that we are communicating with students that they can report and that they should report Title IX and Title VI with a trusted student affairs professional. So thank you all for your time today and have a good one.